Have you ever noticed that when you carry something in water, it feels lighter than when you would carry it on land? Well, when an object is placed in water, its mass doesn't change, but it becomes lighter because of buoyancy. Objects become easier to lift in water because the water pushes itself against the object, helping you lift it. When an object is placed in water, it moves water out of its place to make room for itself, which causes the water to push back upwards. This upward force of water is equal to the weight of water displaced by the object. This was discovered by Archimedes and is also known as Archimedes' principle. Archimedes' principle is that when an object is placed in a fluid, it experiences an upward force that is equal to the weight of fluid displaced by the object. Nobody really knows how Archimedes found this principle, but here are two stories about how he might have discovered buoyant force. A king named Hiram calls a goldsmith and gives him gold so that he can make a crown for him. After receiving the crown, King Hiram starts to think that the goldsmith cheated him by switching the gold with silver, which is a cheaper metal. So he asks Archimedes, who is known for being a skilled scientist, to figure it out. Archimedes tries using density. If the crown's density is less than pure gold, then the goldsmith cheated the king. To find the density, he first needs to get the volume of the crown. But crowns are harder to measure since you can't just multiply width by length by height like you would with a cube. After thinking about it for a while, he still can't seem to figure it out, so he decides to take a bath. He goes inside and notices how the water flowed out of the tub when he went in. Then he realized that the space his body takes up is equal to how much the water rose. Then he thought that if he put the crown in water and the water rose, however much the water rises is its volume. He was so excited with his new discovery that he ran out naked saying, "Eureka! Eureka! 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 Eureka!" Then he goes to the king and they find out that the density was too low and that the goldsmith cheated the king. This relates to buoyancy because if the water that rose and flowed out of the tub were weighed, it would equal the upward force of liquid on Archimedes' body and the crown. The second story of Archimedes' principle says that King Hiram asked Archimedes to supervise the building of the Circusia, which was a ship that was 50 times bigger than a standard ancient warship, and King Hiram wanted to build the largest ship in the world, which would be given as a present to the Egyptian ruler. The idea to build a ship that was as big as a palace was very absurd at the time, and the ship would be holding tons and tons and tons and tons and more tons and tons of cargo. So while Archimedes was taking a bath, he figured out that an object partially immersed in fluid is buoyed up by a force that is equal to the weight of fluid displaced by the object. So if the 2,000-ton Circusia displaced 4,000 tons of water, then it will stay afloat. If the weight of the water displaced below the keel, which is the bottom half of the ship below the water, is equal to the ship's weight, then the half above the keel will stay afloat. This concludes my presentation.